Alright, ladies and gents. Alright, so pretty much going back in thinking about UK Nationals, because not everyone followed it, and I kind of just want to get the information out to you guys. So pretty much it was the coming out party for big ass Snoke 3 wide vehicle decks. So essentially there were two variations that popped. There is the Sienna Sebulba Snoke, which is an theoretically it's an entirely new variant, but I'll get to that in a second. And then the Snoke Bazine Faust. So Greg or Stealth Moose had successfully piloted to a top 16, and then he won the entire event with it. So congrats, Stealth Moose, good job. But now I hate you because I gotta play against it and the deck list is up. Yeah, but hate, whatever. It'll dissipate. Learn to live with it and move on. I'll go over parts of that deck list and kind of my thoughts in a bit. I've been putting a lot of the thoughts inside of the gameplay videos. So it's probably I would definitely suggest checking out the most recent gameplay videos. And when you see a game end, not necessarily near the end of the video, because I've done some where I've talked for 20 or 30 minutes. Go find that point and listen and watch and see if there's anything that you can pick up or glean from it. So one second, I misshifted. All right, so let's talk about the Sebulba deck and some different stuff. So essentially, in the top 4, it was those two vehicle decks. Drive-By, piloted by Game Slayer, with slightly newer variant. He has the chance cubes. So his version's essentially kind of old. He went and kind of adjusted and took out probably all the big garbage and put in the DHs and brought some of the stuff lower. But for the most part, his deck is very similar to what he played at Worlds. He still plays some crazy garbage like Black One, but like I said, that stuff stayed the same. And then Tacos or Thousand Commandos. So Thousand Commandos is very good at pretty much knocking down that first guy. The dilemma is after that. So if they knock out that first guy, because they can do a solid, probably 7+ damage, ditching their hand and all sorts of stuff round one, with pretty much without finding Holocron. But they can be a little. It's pretty much, it seems pretty necessary for that deck to find Holocron, because if Towson dies, their damage goes out the window. What I mean by that is alright, so their removal is not very good. It's serviceable, but not very good. So they have Witch Magic, they have Force Solution, but after that, it's just it's a shit fest of other stuff, like Electroshocks, Feel Your Angers. So sometimes those come in and they're really good, and sometimes they're just really bad. And now the thing here is that, so when Towson dies, they have no additional resource gen besides if they did anything off of chance cubes, because the Mandos don't have any resource sides. So you're looking at one range, 2 range, 1 melee, shield. So they're big, they're a pain in the ass to take down, but their output damage is relatively low. They don't have big 2 and 3 drop upgrades besides force powers. They can't afford a lot of that stuff. So it's not like you're gonna sit there and see dagger mortises and heirlooms and Z6s or anything like that. And yes, I know Z6 is red. I'm just picking random shit. That'll represent 2s and 3s to bash you in the head with. You're just gonna take a bunch of 1s. So that's why they call it paper cuts. So now the thing here is that the deck tends to be very good. If you're playing against Mill, it seems like it's in a solid spot because it has 2 chance cubes and 2 Van Braces, and it can pretty much just straight paper cut through a Yoda, and then after that just take Anakin, and in theory you should have enough time to be able to get through to Cassian. but when Towson dies, if they don't have a chance cube to pretty much keep bouncing to get free damage, they have to spend ones to either like bounce the van braces and reuse them over and over, or play down stuff that, like, you know, the protection cards, armor plating, and things like that. I think like the variant I had like crystal balls and free for all, so like you can more focus to the twos and sides you want, but realistically, that most people are going to be on some variation of what Jordan had from Gen Con. So keep that in mind. More or less, first target's going to go down, but if you can, in that time frame, kill Towson. So if you're on the round 2 dead Towson plan and you can successfully do it, then you're in a good spot. Pretty much no matter what you're playing outside of Mill. So back to, so like the funny thing there is, like, that's kind of where we're expecting the format to be, because those are the top 2 from Gen Con, so Mill and Tacos. And so now we have the damn Snoke vehicle decks. So I expect a jump in 3-wide Snoke decks potentially. So we'll now talk about Sebulba, Sienna, Snoke. So the initial base looks similar to a prior Snoke vehicle deck that was running around, which was Rebel Trader, Piet, and Snoke. And now the thing here was that Rebel Trader allowed you to go, okay, well, like, I roll out my Rebel Trader, you roll out your dude, and now what's going to happen is that because of the set of actions, I have the ability to immediately Snoke my die uninterrupted. So you're like, okay, well, uninterruptible Snoke dying seems pretty good. So there's a dilemma here. It's that his die sides are not so amazing. So he still maintains the discard, the disrupt, and the resource that Bazine has, but his other side is 1 indirect, 2 indirect. Sorry, 1 second. So, like, in general, if you're fine Snoking anything on his die, then you're like, you know, you're in a good spot. But it's a single die, so small percentage odds. If you, let's say you just don't want to Snoke indirect because the value's not there, like when you 3 disrupt somebody and get 3 disrupt, like that can be ridiculous. When you do a 3 discard, it can be ridiculous. When you do 3 resources, it's completely, normally speaking, ridiculous. Doing the extra indirect doesn't really matter until people start getting close to dying, in which case it then does matter. So the Rebel Trader there is kind of like, whatever. But, like, you got those small odds to be able to do crazy shit, like when you CAD somebody's hand, or, you know, just get the triple resource. Now Piet is also, once again, very similar, and, like, I actually can't remember one of his die sides, but I want to say it's a shield. But his is 2 indirect, 2 indirect. I actually do not remember 2 of his sides anymore. I know he has a resource side. I just can't remember the other 2, and I don't believe there was a discard because he didn't seem that scary. It might be shield and disrupt. There could maybe be a focus there. I just can't think of it, but I think he has at least 1 shield. So it might be like shield disrupt. But yeah, once again, we're looking at indirect again, and now his ability will let you change any of the dice of any of your vehicles or non-unique characters to a value of 1. So from there, you can get like you can get an autofocus to be like, all right, well, I want Trader to show a discard, or I want Trader to show, you know, a resource. And so, like, from that perspective, you're like, okay, well, that's a good spot. The dilemma is that if your opponent has that piece of removal, so like if you whiffed on the Rebel Trader, you know, rollout, and then you're Pieting over, you're just like, all right, well, now I'm putting it in a situation where you have to have the removal right then and there. But the dilemma is that you now have both of your only 2 character dice in the pool. So anything like Entangle, Best Defense, whatever, it would stop both of those dice, and you would lose your Snoking for the round. So the base behind that deck, after, you know, these guys and generating resources or doing discards, is that they run like the big vehicle lineup. So, you know, they were on like Pirate Speeder tanks, Planetary Bombardments, Hailfire Droid tank, and then the delve package. So they could, if they got the resources, they could cast them, or they could 3 for delve to get like a 2 discount on planetary bombardment, or a 3 discount on planetary bombardment, or 2 discount on pirate speeder tank. There's this taxi driver that is ridiculous. So he was like in the middle of 2 lanes for a really long time, or probably like a quarter, and like it was just bonkers, because there were some people that just wouldn't let him go, and then at some point you couldn't tell if he wanted to go or not because he had like the space for it, but then just never moved. Anyway, sorry. So back to things at hand. So yeah, they do that, and then I think they have like, you know, Arc or maybe Fang or something. But like, depending on the variation, that's what you're looking at. Maybe you're looking at Dooku's, maybe you're looking at a Houndstooth. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But that was the theory. You get these big things out. So now, the Sebulba variation is very different, or it's technically the same, but also very different. So now, in that version, when you made a bunch of resources, all you could really use them on was more vehicles.
PS signal lost.
And the new Sienna Sebulba version, oh sorry, there was ATSD also, I forgot about that. The new Sienna Sebulba version, Sebulba's kind of ignored. It's primarily on Sienna. So Sienna now has 2 resource sides, and a base 1 direct, and then you got a +2 and a disrupt. So like, you lost the discard, but you gained an additional resource side, which is realistically what you're looking for. So, you know, now you can more adequately, you know, do Sienna, and you're 1 and 3 to hit the resource, so that you could try to Snoke right away, or force them to eat it, and then they're gonna go, alright, well, let me get Snoke and Sebulba out, so that you could, so they could focus the Sebulba to try to use Sebulba. Now, Sebulba's interesting again, because Sebulba has 2 ranged, 2 indirect, disrupt resource. The special, I believe, is just a blank on him for the deck, unless they decide to run Sebulba always wins for some reason, and then another blank. So now the thing here is that so like from the Pia deck, you have traded out a 2 indirect for a 2 base ranged, which if you had any modified size like ATDP or anything, you can go with it. And if you end up rolling it and decide to Snoke it, you're looking at 4 direct, so that you're more inclined to be able to actually knock a guy out. But the big thing here is that Sebulba is yellow. As an alternative, people were capable of running Tusken Raider. It has 1 health less, because Sebulba has 9 and Tusken only has 8. But if you decided to ever put the chance cubes on Tusken, you'd have been able to roll it out. If you hit the 2 or the 3, you could discard a card to get the resources immediately and not have it get mitigated. Same for if you just decide, if you hit the 3 for 1 resource, you could just do that. And Snoking for damage there, you have 3 sets of base sides, a shield and a resource. So, you know, the 3 for 1 would now be a 5 for 1. So like that's an alternative there. Not sure if they considered. But I think it's also because they ran Sebulba's Pod Racer. Sebulba's Pod Racer could do 1 direct while Sebulba was there. But even then, that card's not very good. So it's like, becomes really questionable. Like, if you get 1 direct from it, plus whatever other some resolve, then you're kind of like, alright. But like, it had a 2 indirect side, and the 2 indirect side's really crappy. If it was, or 2 indirect for a resource, my apologies. But, so like, yeah, I think normally speaking there, you'd rather just have probably the 1 indirect, and you don't really want to focus that shit, because the other 3 sides are like, shield, disrupt, discard. If it had a resource side, then I'd be pretty happy about it, or he's okay with it, or like base damage, but it doesn't. So from there, it's just, you know, the normal stuff. But now you also gain, okay, I have a bunch of resources. I can use Sienna to untap my big vehicles, my ATSD, my Pirate Speeder Tank, my Hailfire. You cannot untap a Planetary Bombardment because it is not a vehicle. But so they have these big things that could just do, you know, big chunks of damage. If your opponent doesn't have removal, then they're really good. So now, one of the drawbacks you do have to keep in consideration is that, so when you pay 2 resources for like any of these untaps, you have to think about like what you're gaining from it and the valuation. Like in theory, we're always like 1 resource is worth 2 damage, blah blah blah. So if you untap a Hailfire and you only get 2 indirect, it's actually a negative. It's bad. It's usually better if you just get another actual die down because you've got 29 health. So pretty good odds of getting 2 or 3 uses out of playing the vehicle than like just straight untapping it. But when you have a priority target, things change immensely, because like ATST is like, alright, 3 damage, 4 damage, 5 damage for a resource, 2 shields, and a special that kills something on the board, or sorry, kills a support. So now if your opponent has like a Hailfire, and let's say you had paid 2 to untap it, and you special killed the Hailfire, you now just did a 2 for 4 trade, and like that 4 was going to do damage to you over time. So like just that the overall differential there is just like, oh my god, like that was extreme value. Similar to my talks with like ATDP and like eating an Anakin pod. The value you get there is like immense. So that's more or less like what the next plan is. It looks relatively slow, but it also runs friends in high places. So once it gets like the first big vehicle down, it could show the 3, 4, 5 plus your other dice, and boom, your friends in high placing into potentially another big vehicle, or even a 3-drop vehicle at that point. That friends in high places got you like plus 3 resources there. So Pirate Speeder Tank's very good because it's 3 ranged, 4 indirect, I think 5 indirect for a resource, 2 shields, and then a special that does 2 shields and 2 damage and gets you an additional action. So that's how that deck more or less works. There's going to be some potentially wonky stuff going down at times, but it seems to be in a good place against a good chunk of the meta, because those things are just big and expensive, and if they get one down, you have to continually eat it. If they ramp, they can get the untap, so then your removal actually didn't matter. And if they start killing your dudes, like that's bad. And if you're spending actual resources to mitigate, then now what's happening is assuming that you're also not a Snoke deck, you're spending resources to mitigate. They're just super ramping fast and getting the untap anyways. So then like it's like you're slowing yourself down to mitigate, and they're maintaining pace. Whereas if you don't mitigate, then in theory they could just get the untap anyways and get bigger damage in. So like it tends to be like a lose-lose bad situation for most opponents regardless. Or just play more vehicles, blah blah blah. But so that's that. And then if we kind of take a bird's eye view, or just take a peek into the Bazine Snoke version that Greg won with. Oh, actually, sorry. I think I gave one of the top 4 lists wrong. Mill was not in top 4. It was Cat Snoke, and Cat Snoke was in the finals. I do not know why I said Mill. I think I was too busy watching DBS beat Mill. So yeah, it was DBS, Cat Snoke, Tacos, and Bazine Snoke. Not Crotch Rocket. Crotch Rocket did not make it to top 4. Wait, right? I'm now questioning all of life. I think because Cat Snoke beat DBS, and then wow, was it not Tacos? No, it wasn't Tacos. I'm sorry. I think Tacos lost top 8, so it should have been Crotch Rocket top 4. Wow, I'm a fucking mess. So yeah, Crotch Rocket had played against Bazine, and then Crotch Rocket's a Zabulba deck, in case you're confused. It's the stupid picture from Zabulba. So just like he's attacking, but it kind of looks like he's attacking with your crotch, or his crotch. Anyways, So yeah, Tacos and Millhead did well. They represented I think a total of 5 decks in the top 16. But the Cat Snokes and different stuff like that like did pretty good at beating up on like Mill and any of the slower decks. So yeah, finals was Cat Snoke versus Bazine. So the thing about the Bazine deck is you have to kind of wonder about like efficiency, like your rounds, like what available resources, what available focus sides, damage you have left over, etc., etc. And so like the big thing here is that like if we look at Greg's version, there's no Hailfires. It was a version I was theorizing with 2 natural pilots, which are pretty good. And then so it was just like 2 of each of the 3 drops. So the rationale here was that if we grab to the 5 resources via snoking a resource, and we did like, let's say like a chance cube, we'd be at 7. So with 7 resources, you'd be able to cast a 3-drop and like a natural pilot. Any of the other ramp cards, Houndstooth or Dooku Sailor, Houndstooth, even without the battlefield, you could go from the 5 to 7 and cast a 3-drop. Sorry, you cannot go 5 to 7. You can go 5 to 3 back to 5. And then cast like cast a 3-drop there and be good to go. But like in a subsequent round, you could be at 7 because you go 2 to 5 and then the +2 on Hounds to be at 7 to then cast another 3-drop plus like a natural pilot. You won't be able to afford pay sides at this point, but the theory there is we cut most of the pay sides. I think the only pay side was Faust and ATDP. I slaved one, and I technically have Houndstooth's cost sides, but like that's different. So it was just to kind of fit that like base of numbers and stuff. And then like let's say we want to play like a natural pilot and like a DH or a natural pilot and a pay side, like the numbers went in well there. Whereas Hailfire, you could do Hailfire in a pay side. This is like, did Hailfire mess up Bazine? Was the 1 additional resource worth it? Like if we want to cast Beguile, you couldn't do Beguile and Hailfire without like additional ramp. If someone used like a Disrupt or something, it would mess with the numbers quite heavily. So it was just kind of all about efficiency, but also that we wanted to just get direct damage in. So like Arc in theory was the one cheaper, equivalent to Hailfire. We kept the 2 base. We changed the 3 base for a resource into another 2 base, and we kept the 3 indirect. We kept the crappy shield side. We lost 2 disrupt and 2 indirect for a resource and a blink. So it was kind of like it's not super bad, but you also lost your ping. But it was at 1 resource less, and 1 resource less could be the difference between getting it down and not getting it down, or being able to not just like focus into a resource to be able to afford it, because there's going to be times where like you have to grab shields or something and you're down a resource now, and maybe you didn't get to Snoke resources, so like there'll be differentials in what you have available for that. So like that's the main premise behind why Hailfire wasn't there. It lets you focus down targets much better, because Fang Fighters 3s were hugely relevant. So I don't know, there's not much to talk about that deck that I haven't talked about. I just kind of wanted to go over like why the Hailfires were cut, for anyone that just kind of wasn't aware. I've actually since recently put the Hailfires back, but my rationale was a little different. I just wanted to continue testing them to make sure I wasn't missing out, because the thing was that once you go, so when you play against a deck where like let's say their main target either doesn't matter, or there's like multiple main targets, then not having the additional damage over time was kind of relevant. So like when we're playing against something with like 27 or 28 health, and they have similar firepower, then even though our ramp is kind of gone, or at least the base ramp, because we have to do everything off of Faust. So like if Bazine died early, then the Hailfires would at least get extra ping damage. So like it sets up the damage for like Mando's dying, and then you just had more sides on it. It couldn't be stopped by force jump. So when you needed that 3 base to get in through a force jump, you could focus that, and they can't force jump it, they can't pacify it, they can hit it motive of it. It's really hard to easy picking that. It was just that the die overall could avoid some of the issues with things today. Beguile could have put it to a blank, but realistically, Beguile could just put it on the shield or just remove it. Avoids feel your anger, at least for itself. And it also gave you like that little bit of speed, because you could cast a Hailfire and get it in the pool. If you needed to do like he doesn't like you off of it. Also, like end game, when you're short of damage, you just cast the vehicle and end the game. So it's like pseudo backup muscle-esque in that regard at the end. So like I had put them back because of that. Whether it's correct or not, I'm not quite sure. If we think that Mill is going to take a step back, we could realistically just cut one of the ATDPs, and to make the spot if we wanted it. Maybe we could even just run one Hailfire if we cared about that enough. Arc sometimes feels like it's low-key, but it's really consistent. And being really consistent is really good. Like, sure, ATDP can actually show a 3 base, but the modified 2 can be dead early until we've got, other dice down. So I'd rather just have 2, 2, 3 indirect there under normal circumstances. But that's the big breakdown on that. The Sibelta deck. So the DPS version that Gameslayer ran, DPS is Yoda as a rookie pilot. It's the drive-by shooting, is what Your Destiny called it, and I liked the name, so I kept it. We were calling it like pink shit peppers, because fucking Bounce Without Lake is crazy, and apparently they just had a fucking, or his family or whatever had a saying for whatever shit was in like leftovers, steak, blah blah. It was always this pink stuff, and then peppers. And they just threw it all together and cooked it, blah blah. But anyways, so that DPS variant had the chance cubes to help for the ramp, and that was the only additional ramp, because otherwise he felt good, but he was still running Pumas, and he ran a black one, which is kind of crazy. I don't know why. Like, he just has some severe attachment to that. Like, it's like when Eric Wainwright runs fucking BB-8. He's just like, oh well, it has like immense value there, but it's like kind of a waste of a resource. And what I mean by that is that, like, all right, so it was 2, 3, I think 2 shields, the special, and I can't even remember the other side. I don't think it was a resource. Maybe it was a resource, but it was probably better off being like an arc or something. He had 2 Fang Fighters, so he had 2 crates, 2 T-47s, 2 Fang Fighters. So he was on the direct damage plan. He had C-3PO. I think he had an R2-D2, maybe. And like, so those for C-3PO was just amazing at fixing stuff. So his overall plan was just to steal resources, get a bunch of dice. He's got so like the Boomas, when your opponent has like big health decks and you just want to like get damage through at the end, the Boomas could be in theory better than like a Resistance Bomber, because Resistance Bomber will do 3/3 and then 6 for 2 resources. This thing could essentially do, it was 2/2/3 blank blank blank, but when he pays 1, he can get another duplicate of it, so you can kind of filter out additional resources into additional Boomas. It was a power action, so you can only do it once per round, but in theory, if you just wanted extra damage, 1 resource for extra damage was fine. You could also use it to kind of C3PO off of it. So if you paid 1 resource to get the die out, then use it to kind of focus your other dice, you'd have a 2 or a 3 to do that with. So like the Boomus in theory is not really bad. The black one definitely is. But sometimes you have to question how many additional resources you actually have, because that deck, you know, you have removal and whatnot. So he ran Negotiates, which can be quite good when people are on like a low amount of dice, or just like their initial activations are made. So like if you roll out Ezra and they're like, oh, I'll roll out Bazine, then you're just like, nah, fuck Bazine, I'm gonna negotiate, you put those dice, because they have to slow roll, because the decks are slow. But it's much weaker against let's say, like, I'm not gonna say Kylo, because like I guess the Kylo theory, or any guy where you put like 3 upgrades on them. The Negotiate is relatively weak there, because they're just like, all right, well, I'll get rid of these 2 shitty dice. But if you kind of think of it in the current format, that's not what we're looking at, as far as like what's going on. So it's like, if you roll out Ezra, and they did like Antipod and then fixed the die. So like, let's say you go round 1, all right? They go Antipod, roll out, don't hit the discard side. You roll out Ezra, and then they roll out Anakin and flip the Antipod. If you negotiate there, you've essentially probably eaten one of their resources, or the equivalent to one of their resources, and saved a discard from your hand at the cost of one of your dice and a resource. Not amazing, but like killing those can be great. Your opponent rolls out a Yoda with 2 things, you just kill that, good to go. So like a lot of these decks that we're talking about, like at the top in theory, a Negotiate's pretty good there. The ones where it's bad is just like, alright, your opponent's playing this fucking Cad Bane, so then now, you know, they're already action cheating, so I guess you get to eat the leftover dice. But if they just like natural activated 4 or 5 dice, it's back to my big upgrade dude. He was also really light on mitigation, it looked like, because I think his expectation was that he just wanted to beat Mill, so he had like a bunch of, in theory, gas, with some of it not being so amazing. But T-47s creates Fang Fighters, Y-Wings. He had Boomus, and then a black one. I think that might have been like 11 vehicles or something there for him. So that's what. Okay, so that's 11. Then you've got 2 chance cubes. You're at 13. So I think if you had like illusions and stuff. C3PO, rally aids. So like it quickly climbs up. There may have been, I'd assume there was between 10 and 12 mitigation. Because what we called 4 2 drops, 6 3 drops, and a 4 drop. Yeah. But he didn't run any arc. I guess it didn't fit on the spectrum for him. Fang Fighter is faster for tempo wise, and 3 damage, probably really relevant. So it makes fine sense. But so yeah, he lost to Cat Snoke. He had beaten Mildex, the C3POs, and all the theft on resources. Plus people just kind of not knowing how to play against that. Like I would have ran into the same situation, but I've had testing with our group for Gen Con, so they were just already aware that my initial goal is to just choke them out. So they have to grab like Yodas for resources, so that they can, like, even though they fed me resources, they can still cast removal and potentially stop my damage for a round. So if they got like, you know, a discard or 2, or even 3, and then like a couple mil, and potentially stop my damage for the round, then I'm gonna be in a world of hurt, because I lost a full round there roughly. Like maybe I got a vehicle down, but like either way, like the cubes are really helpful there against Mill, and Fangs do like real damage at a okay tempo. C3PO's good, fixes that shit after they like leave you with a crappy board state. But yeah, so I'll stop the video here. Not much else to say. Good luck, guys. See you guys at Nova, anyone that goes. I think Store Champ season's over. If someone is the Store Champs or whatever, good luck there. If you guys got questions, let me know. And I hope that this video was able to help keep you, up to date with the meta. Let's go Loopers. Deuces.